You ready to drag it out?
I can't. That thing is way too heavy.
Just pull it. Here, I'll help you pull it.
Ow. What's got spider webs all over it?
Yeah.
I don't touch this thing with spider webs.
Yeah.
And it's got a flat tire.
It's got 4 flat tires. What do you think? You think that thing's worth anything?
It'd be worth a fortune if it was clean.
Clean? As a lot of you know, I used to build a lot of wagons and small ride-on toys for my son. He's gotten too big for him. So my brother and his wife gave us this little four-wheeler. It's a long story how they got it, but obviously it's been sitting a while, you can tell. It hasn't run in a long time. So I figured if I can get this thing going, it'd be a good toy for my son. Nice little upgrade. It'd be his first gas-powered vehicle. So we need to see what we can do with it. All right, the first thing I want to do is take all these panels off. A lot of them I just kind of sat on there. They're in pieces. Just so we can get down to all the electronics. As you can see, these panels are pink. This was a girl scooter. We'll see if we can get it running first, and then we'll probably paint it. Now, as you can probably tell, just from the looks of it, this hasn't run in a long time. Unlike everything else that I've been working on lately, the tank is plastic, so I don't think we'll need a tank at least. So that's kind of a relief. But all of this stuff here, we're not sure if it's any good or not. You know, I could go through all the electronics, the CDI box, they go out commonly. I could go through all of this and, you know, probably try to figure out if anything is any good or what's bad. You can see everything to the battery is kind of chooched up. But there is a solution to this to avoid all of the hassle of trying to, you know, sort all this out. This is a basic Chinese four-wheeler, little 4-stroke. This is a 70cc. This is kind of like those Chinese mopeds you see everyone riding. They're all pretty much the same. The mopeds are like a GY6 Honda clone engine. Parts are interchangeable as far as the mechanics go. These Chinese four-wheelers are really no different than the scooters. It's a different engine. It's a whole different platform. But parts are interchangeable, even among different CCs. This one here is a Hensim, but like I said, there's a lot of different ones out there that are all basically the same. They're based off of some clone of some other Honda engine, I'm sure, just like the scooters are. I don't know what that is, but I can pretty much change this entire harness and all the electronic components pretty cheap and not try to figure out what's wrong, what works, what doesn't. The most important thing is that the engine turns and it has compression, and obviously the carburetor, you know, you want to make sure it's there and complete. To me, I always look to make sure that it does move, it's not seized up. You know, we can clean the carburetor and not have to rebuild it most likely and change all the electronics. The engine does turn, it does have compression, and you know, once you have that, if you have the spark plug doing its job and the carburetor doing its job, it'll run. That's pretty simple. For 20 bucks on eBay, I've got this whole bag of parts here. Starter solenoid, new. Regulator, even comes with a stator. A new coil, an ignition switch, with a key. Micah's pretty excited about that. Hand controls, the starter button, headlight switch, kill switch, all that's included. We have a new CDI. And pretty much the entire harness. Not only that, but a new spark plug. Wixing, wing ding, wing ding 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 ding. If this becomes a problem, I'll probably put an NGK in there. We'll see if we can make it run first with this. I'm not a fan of these Chinese spark plugs. What else do you need besides a battery? So obviously you want to make a mental note of how everything lays out in here. As many cars as I've had apart, this is not really that difficult. But you want to see where all the components go. This CDI apparently goes right there. Basically, see how everything lays out. See how the harness goes. So the main harness, you can see the end with all the plugs runs through the front. Then all your little pigtails and connectors towards the rear run down this side here on the right, solenoid CDI, and the rest runs back towards the battery. Pretty simple, straight shot. Let's get started. Now what we're going to do is start removing everything that we know we already have to replace. Diagonal cutters are essential. Got a few zip ties here and there, and ratchet with an 8mm, 10mm, a couple of wrenches, 10mm, 8mm. Those are pretty common as far as what we're going to do here. Metric, you know. So let's just start taking everything apart. Coil out of the way. Trash. Now we have a starter solenoid. Pull it out of its little pocket. Pretty easy peasy. Regulator. And of course the battery and the tail lights. There's the back of the harness. You have a couple plugs here. One runs to the stator. Brake light switch. CDI, and now we can pretty much no. A lot of squeezing, but it ain't that bad. There we go. We got everything off but the stator. Pretty quick and easy. Thank you, sir. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is get in here and see what the stator looks like. Make sure the one that came with a new kit is the same. What I'd like to do is remove this footboard, but it doesn't seem to want to come off, so we'll go from there. Let's first get the sprocket cover off, and then let's see if we can pull that stator cover off. Part of me wants to think that just to see if this will run, the chances of that stator being okay are kind of high, but this plug is entirely different than the one in the kit, so the main harness I'd have to, you know, wrap this plug and these the female spades and everything onto that new harness, and I don't really feel like doing that. So if I can get in here and it's the same, we'll just change the stator. Well, I'm going to get this off of here. Now we can try to get the stator cover off. There we go. As you can see, these are very different. This is the new one that came in the kit. Its mounting holes are much wider than, or farther apart than the new one. And it's got a bunch of single wires with bullet style connectors. The new one mounts to the case in here, and the pickup is separate. It's still attached, and it has these female spades in this 4-pin connector and one bullet style male. The thing is, all the wire colors are different, which probably doesn't matter anyways. And what I would really have to do, honestly, and what we may do, is hope that this stator is good, which it probably is, and then I'll have to convert the new harness with these bullets that go to the new stator, put the old harness's plug on there, so the old stator will plug into the new harness. That's probably going to be the thing to do, honestly. As much of a pain in the butt that will be, I think that's really the only thing we can do, honestly. Because I'm not going to try to go to the hassle of trying to mount this in here somehow when it clearly doesn't just bolt in. So we don't want to go that route. I kind of wish I hadn't pulled it off, but it's not a big deal. This green is a ground. I know that for sure. And on the old harness, the green is a ground. And they both have, this is a male bullet, this is a female. So we at least don't have to worry about that wire. So we only have the 4 to figure out. I can look in here and figure out what each does. The blue goes to the pickup. On this one, the blue goes to the pickup. So we know the blue and blue are the right colors. We're down to 3. And they just so happen to be the ones that go to the stator coils. This one has 2. So I don't think it really matters, but we also happen to have in the new stator yellow, white, and let's see, on this one there's a black and a red tracer, and we have the same colors here. So there's a good chance that there is a rhyme or a reason behind the colors. I'm surprised, being Chinese. Often I've seen in these harnesses, you start out on one end like a blue, and it's like they ran out of blue and they splashed into green at the other end, which makes them hell to diagnose. So if that's the case here, that'll be a lot easier, and I'm also surprised. Alright, I'm generally not a big advocate for little butt connectors, but at least these have heat shrink tubing made within them. If I can just get the torch hot enough, this shrink these down and seal them up. And for what we have, I think that it's going to be good enough. So, there we go. See how this works, buddy?
How what works?
So I'm heating these little butt connectors.
Why do you need to heat them up?
Because it makes them shrink. See how they shrink like that? And that seals them in. And
They
usually,
just shrink, didn't they? But why do you need them to shrink?
so if they get wet, it doesn't let water to get in here to the connection and cause corrosion. This part here is actually what charges the battery when it's running. That's what the stator does. So what we'll do now, let these cool off, and I'm going to just go ahead and cover that section there with Tessa tape. So while we're in here, I'm going to go ahead and clean up this pickup here with some, you know, a little sandpaper. I'll also clean up the flywheel. Basically, I've got it off. I may as well clean everything. So make sure we get good signal from the pickup and make sure we're charging. I'm betting that this is fine. And if it's not, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Really all I got to do is get it running. It'll run anyways, as long as, you know, this harness works out. It's gonna run. All this does is charge the battery. Now it won't run if this doesn't work, the little pickup. It says it sends a signal to the CDI and makes the coil fire the spark plugs. If that don't work, you get no spark. If this doesn't work, the battery doesn't charge. Let's see if we can finagle this back in the hole. There we go. And you have to be careful when you do this. That magnet will suck that thing right in there and smash your fingers. It's not that strong, but it's enough to kind of hurt just a little bit. I'm sure you guys or somebody's gonna comment about a port pattern. Christ loud, man, we're sealing air here, buddy. I don't know what the crisscross pattern would be for this, nor do I care. Alright, so now I want to start putting components on here. Normally your kill switch, your starter button would be on this side, your headlights would be on this side. It's kind of traditional. This throttle here takes up a lot of room and the cable comes straight out. That, along with the cable coming out of the hand control, goes to the right, which kind of almost seems like it's made to be over here, plus there's room for it. The old one was already off. I don't know where it was, but just for a lack of a better place to put it, we're going to go on the left side. I'm sure he'll be fine with that, but I'm going to go ahead and start putting all the components on where they go, and then we'll start laying the harness out. You ready?
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
We're going to put this switch on here. All the components are on, minus the ignition switch because it mounts to a panel and I don't have that panel in yet. So now we're going to try to route this harness through here. It's going to be a little bit shorter than the one we had, but I think some of these components have longer pigtails than what we had, so I'm thinking everything will work fine. I'm going to leave that there for now. You can't see this, and not going to move the camera right now. This rectifier regulator before, the stock one was facing a certain way, and now the new one, if I face it that way, this harness doesn't really reach. So we turned it around, which got the plug in closer, and I think that's probably going to dictate where everything else goes on the harness. So where's my CDI plug? Wow. So I'm going to have to move the CDI up towards the front. It's kind of weird. So what we got going on here is things are laying out in different places. So not too big of a deal. We'll make them work. CDI would normally go back here. It's going to have to go towards the front. Coil. Are you kidding? Gotta move the coil too. Oh. Ah. Guess it's the one downside is this thing, there's really no rhyme or reason here as to where they put what. I'm gonna look like spaghetti when I'm done. But I'll get it hooked up, make sure everything works, and then we'll probably figure out a better plan as far as the harness goes, because that ain't gonna work. Starter's back here at least. Now it's super long. The other problem we have with this is this is the plug for the starter. It goes down to the starter. On this one, from the starter solenoid, you just have the two standard nuts. So you have a plug on the old harness like this, and the negative goes to the negative on the battery, and the positive goes to the starter solenoid. We don't have that layout here on here. That's not hard either. I'll probably do the same thing I did with the stator. Alright, let me tighten those bolts and come up with a battery. We'll see if this bad boy will fire up on some starting fluid. Make sure the key is on.
Okay.
Alright, so I need that here. She runs. Is that too loud for you?
No.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
I'm always going to have to wear my headphones. Where's the button?
It's right there, but it doesn't work with the button yet. We got to figure that out. Something's not right with this, and we may just, that portion, we may just wire it up ourselves so it works right.
Which button did you press to start it?
This one. You got to rock it up. Go.
Why can't you just keep holding the button?
Because that keeps starting it. Once it's running, you don't need to hold the button. So what do you think?
I like it.
You like it? So now we got to clean all this mess up Clean the carburetor out, and
Wire it
you
up.
need a battery, and we'll probably put tubes in the tires.
Should we wire it up so that it'll run?
It's wired up, other than just it looks like a mess.
No, I'm saying like wire it up so that way I can like press start and it runs.
Yeah, we're gonna fix that. I don't know what that is yet, but we're gonna fix it. All right, so we got it running on starting fluid. That tells us a lot. Tells us everything we want to know about what we're gonna do with this. So it runs, and basically, if I clean the carb, clean the tank out, put some fuel in it, this thing would sit there and run on its own. It seems to go whenever you pull the throttle. There are some things to note about this $20 kit. One is it's a lot shorter than the old one, and there seems to be no rhyme or reason about what plug is on what end of the harness. So there are a few things we're going to have to move around from their original location. That's not a big deal. Obviously it's just all hooked up for now. I've got to straighten all this out and clean it up, and make it look decent. The other thing to note is in our case, the stator doesn't work, so we use the old one. It's not a big deal, and it seems to work. Next thing we're going to do, obviously all 4 tires are flat. I'm not going to waste time trying to get them to seat and wonder if they're going to leak down again. We'll probably just buy 4 tubes and put tubes in them. And then we're going to paint all the plastics. What color do you want to paint them?
Red.
Red? Like Mommy's car? Dark? That would look
How about we
good.
paint these red too?
Yeah, we'll probably paint the coils red so they're not pink anymore.
Did those fade out as well?
Probably. Yep. So that'll pretty much do it. Say bye. Bye.